Reece Green.
What's up, everybody?
It's the Poor Sports Podcast back. Second time this week. I'm trying to make this a 4-day-a-week podcast quietly without making a big deal out of it. And I do want to point out
that's
that
impressive.
Reece does look like he has he's on like Ukrainian refugee internet right now. Like he's coming to us from the battlefield in Kiev right now. So and you do kind of have
I'm
look
in
like
jail, actually.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you're in a Russian prison. How many things that would get us demonetized or whatever can we bring up in the? Oh shit! I put this to the wrong. I gotta edit. I gotta put this on the right. Let's get this to the. I didn't send it to the right. YouTube channel. Are we over there? Are we live? I think we're live on that. We're live on my personal YouTube channel on accident, by the way. But you're welcome, folks, on my personal YouTube channel. This is a podcast that I have that you don't know about. This will be deleted from the feed. Don't worry. Don't unsubscribe from me because you like my comedy and you hate my podcast. Please, we'll get it off. We'll get it out of your face. But go over to the Poor Sports Podcast if you enjoy this. Reece Green is here. We're going to talk about some sports. You're a comedian. You're a Seattle-based comedian from Florida originally. Former professional baseball player. Viral fame.
Now war hero.
Now Ukraine conflict hero.
I can hear myself coming through your speaker. That's not good, man. Sorry, folks.
Hold on. Maybe on your side you should do the echo cancellation because let me see. Actually, I can edit you have echo cancellation on. We could do remove mic background noise. I could turn my volume down slightly if that helps you in any way. How's that? Is it any better? Talk now. Now you just don't talk at all,
folks. We didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't do.
Is that better for you?
We didn't do any prep for this. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so
all right.
You were on this podcast a while back, and you had recently become a viral sensation for your Halloween costume as Randy Johnson and the bird that he hit with a ball. You and your girlfriend, Alex, who I want to tell you this, that I'm not you told me that a bunch of dudes kind of creeped on her after, which is to be expected. It was on the internet. Like that's to be expected. I did have a friend reach out and go, "Oh, dude, you know that lady? I know her from just following her for years." And I was like, "Oh, well, first off, I don't even really know that lady. Like I've met that lady."
Yeah, I've said hey, and that's about it. And then they left.
Yeah, she's very nice. She's been nice to me.
She was on TikTok for a while. Like that's how she had a big following. So even before the costume, like guys are like any hot woman online, guys are gonna be weird. So she's used to it. But it was pretty funny where I was like, oh, I just get to see everything happen in real time with the costume. So that was fun. Yeah,
it's wild. And then you started to get a little bit of heat in the baseball podcast world, and what I love about you, Reece, true comedian, turned it into absolutely nothing, no financial gain, pretty much.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what I was supposed to do with it.
I don't know. You could have become the next Jen Sturger. Yeah, that's what you should have been, dude. She should have been the new Reece Green.
Yeah. Well, wait, were you just about to say I should have become the next, and then you said a name that I've literally never heard of in my entire life?
You've never heard of Jen Sturger? So Jen Sturger, this is how crazy the world of comedy is, or how pathetic the world of comedy is Jen Sturger was I'm going to give you the story as best I remember it, and people can fact check me because I'm not going to Wikipedia this. Jen Sturger was just at a Florida State game. Brent Musburger made a perverted comment about her, and then out of sympathy, people like tracked her down and were like this victim of Brent Musburger's perversion. And then she became a reporter, and then she became the recipient of a Brett Favre dick pic, and once again was the beneficiary of, not beneficiary is a bad word in that situation, but was the subject of some sympathy because of the way a rich, powerful man had treated her. And now I believe she's slumming it among us. I think she's like going up at the Comedy Store, like as a stand-up comedian. I didn't even remember that until we brought it up. But yeah, she's you could have been her. You could have been a person who became famous for nothing.
I could have got a dick pic from...
Dude, hey, listen, I could still send you Brett Favre's dick pic. That's what I'll tell you. It's out there.
Is it out there? Hold on. Vamp for a little bit. I'm gonna find it.
Oh yeah, let's share it on the screen. Let's get really kicked off of YouTube. But yeah, and so like I appreciate that about you, that it's like you went on a bunch of, a handful of podcasts, this one included. You started a podcast for about an episode and a half. That's gone, I assume. It's never seen the light of day since then. And you got
they're out there. I would try to get guests on, and then nobody. I don't know. I just I'm doing a thing now. I'm doing 30 episodes of like following up with people from different teams about like their predictions for the season and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, I got paid a little bit for that stuff, but
that's nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I had my own podcast going for a little bit, and then every time I would try to get like baseball players on, they were like, "We're working on it," and then that was it. I was like, "All right,
it's
what
difficult."
else am I supposed to do? I would have comedians on, but it was like the people who had the connections to different baseball players that I would be like, "Hey, would they be interested in coming on? We could do this and that," and they were like, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and then that was it. There was no nobody would ever follow up, and I was like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do for you guys, but it was fun while it lasted. I didn't really care that much, so it's not like I tried to turn it into much. But
I got to tell you, there's a part of you that I hate and like. The I didn't care very much is a thing about you that I both hate and like, because I'm when it comes to especially comedy, I'm like a tryhard, and you're like quite the opposite of that. And I'll give you the example.
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
I don't mean that you don't try hard.
I think it just seems nonchalant.
No, I mean try-hard. I don't mean like you don't try hard. I'm saying I am a try-hard.
Oh, you're a try. Got it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you don't put in effort, but I'm saying like I'm like emailing Booker. You're like, getting funny. I'm not saying you're not funny. I'm not saying you don't write. I'm not saying you don't go up. What I'm saying is like I don't have to do it as much anymore, but I would like email bookers over and over and over again until they fucking got annoyed with me and booked me. So I would stop emailing them. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
When you and I went out to, is the last time I saw you when you opened for me in Pasco, the beautiful, amazing show in Pasco, Washington?
I would guess so, and I've told quite a few people about that trip because I thought it was fucking hilarious. I probably am not allowed to curse, but whatever.
No, you're fine. You're fine to curse.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a comedy I mean, it's like whatever. It's not like the FCC is gonna fine us. What have you told people about that trip?
Hey, I don't know,
want to tell my story, but I'd like to hear your story first.
Well, I just thought it was very funny that it was the whole time you were like, God, I'm planning on driving back tonight through a snowstorm. And we were just the whole time before the show even started, just monitoring the weather. We're like, are we going to be able to go home? And neither of us had even gone on. It's just me and you, which is fine. Whatever. Go up to 25 minutes or 30, whatever I was supposed to do. And then the start of the show, they just turn the music off, turn the lights off, and the bartender goes up, does a mic check. Reverb goes off because it's not like all set up. Then he fixes it, whatever, and then he just looks at me at the back of the room, all the way at the back, and he goes, "All right, you ready to go?" In front of everybody on the mic. And I was like, okay. And so I just walk up to silence. No introduction or anything. All the way across the room of like old white people eating prime rib or whatever it is. And then going up and just no jokes got any laughs, I don't think, but anytime I would acknowledge what was going on in the room, I was like, this is the only thing I can even attempt to get a laugh here. And then I do remember you making fun of me for bombing and then not selling any shirts. So that was fun to tell people that.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was one of those ones where it's like, and I try to like, when I didn't know this hurt people's feelings. I thought we were all on the same page as comedians. I'm not saying it hurt your feelings, by the way, but I will occasionally shit on the comedian before me because it's like, it was so conspicuous that it didn't go well. And also, I'm desperately trying to cling to any fucking barnacle on the side of the boat that I'm like,
yeah. Oh, dude, I didn't take any offense to it. I thought it was really funny because then I was like, we're all bombing, but it's so funny to be like, make a joke about the opener bombing and then it doesn't really go well. Like I was cracking up at the back of the room.
Oh yeah. You put out like a 35%. If you're on an A to F scale, you put out like and I gave him like a 45%, but it was still a failing grade. You know what I mean? Like it was, it was, dude, it was tough.
Fun, though. I didn't care. I did more than you're like, do your time. And then I did like a little more than I was supposed to do because I just didn't leave. It was one of those where I looked at my timer and I was like, whatever.
Well, it's also one of those things too where it's like as a comic, you know, I did this the other day where I was like having a tough set and I was like, I can't have the comics. I will do a couple extra minutes to not have the people that follow me just absolutely, you know, this is like whatever, you got to be on the right show to be able to do this, but like to have the people that follow me not have to just follow like an absolute bomb. Like let's put a couple minutes of space between the bomb they just saw. And yeah, and that's like I understand that. Also on those kind of shows, as the headliner, you're like, do as much time as you want. Like the more time you do, the less time I have to do. We just gotta hit 90 minutes, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that was a fun trip though. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, the trip was fun. I actually think those stories are like always way more fun than the stories of like going out and triumphantly crushing in front of a crowd of whatever. Like the stories of you're never gonna remember the stories of like going and having a B- set and selling 2 shirts in Pasco, but like we both bomb. I'm stressed out about driving back over the pass. We have hotel rooms. We're like halfway, like 1 foot in the hotel room, 1 foot out of the hotel room. I eat fucking prime rib right before I go on stage. I eat like a big, like bloody piece of prime rib right before I go on stage. Unaffected, by the way. I'm not giving any. That's not that. Yeah, those are definitely. That's actually one of the things that I think. That's the closest I get to riding on a bus to a baseball, like a road game, is the road trip to a bad comedy gig. Not a good comedy gig, because it's usually a good comedy gig. You're like flying or driving separately. You're meeting a actually famous comedian at the place. But when it's like 2 pieces of shit like you and I, and we are headed to a gig that is like, you're like, this is going to be a struggle. Like we are coming out of this with wounds no matter what. Even if we win, we're going to come out wounded. And that's like, that shit's way more fun driving to and from.
It reminds me of, it definitely had junior college vibes for me. Like that's why I don't know, I've done so many shitty road trips to like terrible little tiny colleges in the middle of nowhere, and then we get our asses kicked, or I do really bad, and then you just get the bus ride home and you get $5 for meal money at a Burger King. So this, I was like, yeah, sure, I don't know, I'll go. I got nothing going on. Like I'll do 25 minutes in a restaurant for who knows. But yeah,
well, and especially because I was driving, so you like
do it then.
You basically couldn't lose money because I was driving. So it's very similar, because in that case it's like the bus is covering the gas, so you don't have to worry about. Yeah, and you get your
like, I just have to go out there and underperform.
You get your Whopper and you get to chew in the back of a school bus without somebody knowing. Yep. Yeah, no, I'm. You also review. The nice thing about those trips too is you learn, because you said that it looks like. You tried to defend yourself when I called myself a tryhard. I also said you don't seem like you have anxiety, and you were like, no, I have so much anxiety. I'm like crumbling all the time. I had no idea, because you seem like you don't give a shit, which seems like a lack of anxiety, but it's apparently just like an outward coping mechanism.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. It also depends on what the scenario is. Like some things I used to have anxiety about, and then it's like gone into other stuff. So it's like I used to have just kind of, it's more not comedy related. It's just like other like mental stuff, I guess. But people are like, oh yeah, you don't, I don't think you have it. I'm like, well, that's not, I've probably like subdued it. So that's why it seems like I don't ever talk about it. I just suppress it. And then it probably bubbles up in other bad habits. But you know.
Yeah. All right, I want to talk about this Randy Arozarena situation, and I was gonna play the video, and I don't think with your internet situation, I don't trust it. I think we're gonna crumble if we try to play it.
I think that's fair.
I played it on.
I wish I was out.
I played it on yesterday's episode. Randy Arozarena steps out 3 straight pitches, 3-0 count, hits a ball off the scoreboard at T-Mobile Park, and then pimps the shit out of the home run celebration, which. This is only news to people who are not familiar with Randy Arozarena that something like this was coming, right? Like,
yeah. I thought it was so fun. Like, I didn't see. I just saw the home run clip. I didn't see at first. Shortly after I did see it, but the 3 step out right before that, and I watched that whole clip. The call is beautiful by Dave Sims. Just this, it's like textbook Randy Arozarena. And I don't think I'd really we've seen Randy being Randy so far, but that was like peak Randy Arozarena. That was like that's like in the the textbook of Randy, there's that video right next to him, and I loved it. I love that Jonah Heim got mad. I love that he stepped out and there's 3 straight non-competitive pitches, and then just grooves a meatball right to him. What else do you want? That's pure television right there. I love it.
It also looked like the 3-0 pitch. It looked like he was trying to groove a pitch and missed his spot. Like it was
also it was like a sinker down and in or a fastball down and in maybe, but 92 with not a ton of movement. I feel like
sure.
Should've known what was coming.
I'm so there's the part of this that's like, this is Randy Arozarena. He's going to be a goofball. He's going to pimp home runs. I do think there's like there's a cultural difference. Obviously, like if you watch any footage, actually, this is a good question for you because you've seen baseball across the world. But if you watch any footage of like Mexican League baseball, Korean League baseball, there's cultural differences in the way baseball gets celebrated across the world. Traditionally, I would say Latin America, there's a little more celebration for things like this. And I would guess there is, which is like my Seattle pussy way of saying, like, Latin America, like, shows out when there's big moments like this. And the first off, like, I bet in Mexico where, I mean, I know Randy Arozarena is Cuban, but played in the Mexican League. I suspect in Mexico, there's like, this isn't even a thing. You're not considering being the guy the next plate appearance. Like, this is just what happens. This is how baseball is. Nobody's pissed off about this. In America, baseball is very uptight. It's like still wants to be a country club sport. You played in like Australia and what was it, Germany or the Netherlands or some shit like that?
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic. What is the expectation of a batter when he hits a home run in Australia or Czech Republic?
I feel like it just depends on who because it's like there's in Australia, it's kind of the same thing. They're definitely going to take it personally, but I don't really think they're gonna care. That's just because they're kind of fiery over there. But I've definitely seen guys pimp some home runs and some of the farthest balls I feel like I've ever seen hit. I don't know if the balls were juiced when I was over there, but I would watch some of those ABL games, and some guys would pimp them. They would watch them, but it wasn't too much of that. And then in the Czech Republic, it was like I didn't see a ton of home runs, but the ones that I did, it was kind of just like basic baseball. I did see a couple guys who would pimp them, and it was like the main dudes in the league, like some American imports. Sure. And they could kind of do whatever they want because it's like if you can't get them out, then you can't really talk shit if they're celebrating when they hit a 450-foot home run off you. But yeah, I do like that. I think a lot of the foreign players come into the big leagues now. The fact that it's becoming more commonplace to show that swagger when you're hitting a home run or celebrating whatever. It's like you see guys on every team now. You do the dance at second base when you hit a double, and it's like that's just as disrespectful as pimping a home run, I guess. I don't think any of it's disrespectful, but I do think it's funny when guys get mad at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the double is like when you see a first down dance in the NFL, and you're like, "This is you didn't even score on this play." Like this is
you didn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever given up a home because I mean, and like you played at a higher level than I did. I played a lot of baseball growing up. I never knew somebody that hit home runs so regularly and so definitively that like off the bat, they weren't like either like, holy shit, I just did that. Or it was like not such a sure thing that they were like not running hard, right? Like it was really rare that someone there was.
Right.
I remember one guy and he would occasionally, I would bet like if he hit 10 balls that were like 50-50 home runs, he pimped all 10 of them and a bunch of them became like singles because they hit the fence, right? Like, and, that like nobody got mad at him on the other team. Our coaches got pretty mad at him because it was like you turned what probably could have been a triple into a single. And but yeah, I never played at a level where like there was enough home runs and towering enough home runs that there was like because Arozarena hits this ball, and I mean he's like not even. There's no way he saw it leave the park. Like he's facing literally away from the field, celebrating with the fan. And there's like a thing. Have you ever thrown at anyone in a baseball game?
I think I've told this. I don't think I've said it on your podcast, but I one time I did it, and it was in Oregon during a summer league. And there was this one team, I think it was Sacramento, that we were playing, and they were at our field. and they were last in the league. They sucked, and they just were having a bad year, but they were really chippy and would always be kind of fiery and try to start shit. And we didn't really do any of that. We would talk shit sometimes, but it was all in, sport, whatever. And this dude, because I was a quick pitch guy. Like, I'm like, throw the ball, get the ball back on the mound. And I would just like, he would be taking his time, not ready. And I remember I threw a pitch and the umpire called timeout or something. And then me and him were literally talking shit to each other during the at bat. Like, he said something and I was like, fuck you, whatever. And I remember the next pitch, I was like, all right, I'm going to beam this guy. I'm going to throw the fastest pitch I've ever thrown. And so I like really lock in and I throw probably a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, low and outside corner for the perfect strike. And I was like, well, I'm never trying to hit a guy ever again. I just threw the perfect pitch. And I was trying to hit him in the head. And I just yanked it so hard, and I just threw a perfect fastball. And I was like, well, that's on me. It just looked like I tried to pitch better. Like, it was pretty funny. But no, I've never really been a guy to like go after anyone, because I'm like, now I'm just letting a guy on base and I have to worry about that. Like, that just makes it harder for myself. So I never tried to do it.
Yeah, one was like pitching from the stretch was so much worse than pitching from the windup for me. I did throw at one guy, and I'm from the Seattle area, right? And so his name was Tyler Slauson. He played for either White River, I think it was White River or Enumclaw High School. And when I do comedy out there, I bring it up on stage. Like 70% of the time I'm doing a show out there, I'm like, I threw at a guy named Tyler Slauson. Do you guys know him? They all know him. The last time he's never come to a show. The last time a guy was like, I know him, he's a great guy. He thought we were like buddies. Like, the only reason I even know him, I had like played, my teammates hated him. I had no reason to hate him. We were playing in like a summer league, and I threw behind him. I meant to hit him, but like I threw behind him. And so I brought this up, and this guy's like, oh, yeah, you know Tyler? And I'm like, I don't really know him. I like threw a ball at him one time, and he's like, oh, dude, he's doing great. He's still a great guy. And I'm like, I don't really know him at all. I just like, I threw a baseball at him one time. And he's like, oh, dude, I'm going to tell him his friend Casey said hi. And I'm like, I'm not his friend. Like, I do kind of want to, I would love to get him on this. I want to get him on this podcast to talk about it, because I do think it would be kind of funny. I doubt he remembers me. I doubt he even remembers that moment. He certainly didn't know, like, high school baseball, nobody pitches well enough that throwing behind someone is like an obvious sign that you're trying to hit someone. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think it would be funnier if the bit kept going where you never met him. Like, I think that keeps it going. That's what I would do. I'd be like, I don't ever want to meet him.
They go, like, this was in 2003, 2004, and they're like, Tyler Slauson's been dead for 70 years. He's
all made up. He's in your head.
So if you're out there, by the way, if you know Tyler Slauson, please put him in contact with me. I could also probably just look him up on Facebook, I suspect.
If anybody knows Casey's good old buddy, please, they're begging each other. They need to find each other. They just lost contact, but somebody bring these guys for a real reunion. We would love to see it.
We need to reunite. I played on a team. So I played on a middle school team. Well, I played on a high school JV team where we had a guy threw really hard. He played center field. By the way, an incredible center fielder, and strongest arm on the team. I was like the best pitcher on the team, but he had the strongest arm by far. So he'd go in and pitch, and he'd throw like, probably high 80s, and we're like sophomores on JV, but he was wild. And I remember he hit his fourth batter of the game, and the umpire comes up to the coach, and he's like, if he hits another one, I gotta toss him. And the coach is like, he's not hitting anybody on purpose. And I remember just like the femininity of the umpire's voice when he goes, but he's wild. Like, because that's like the rule. The rule should be like, I don't know what, there's got to be some middle ground for youth sports where it's like, this guy was absolutely putting people in danger. Like, if he hits somebody in the head, it's going to be a problem. But also ejecting him from the game goes so far against the spirit of what that rule is, right? Like, that rule is not there it's to prevent players from intentionally hitting people, not to like, this guy's wild, kick him out of the game.
Yeah, but I do understand it at that level, because we had a thing in college. I've probably told you this story, but we had a dude who had the yips. One of the best pitchers I've ever. He's ended up, I think, was done with baseball after my sophomore year of college.
Damn.
And he was a D1 drop back, so he went to, I think, College of Charleston. just really nasty stuff. And we were doing this fall like inter squad game, and then we had some like high school travel teams come through because we weren't allowed to play against other colleges in the fall for preseason. So we had these like, high school prospect teams come through, and this dude was throwing like probably like 91, 93, like easy, with no control, and hit 7 dudes in the first inning. And the umpire was like, he's like, I have to, it's not like a personal thing, but like you have to take him out. And so I get warmed up really quick. We're only supposed to throw, 25, 30 pitches, pitch count kind of thing, get some work in. And so he hits all these guys, and their coach is like, what the fuck? And then I come in, and I'm like, in my head, first pitch, I beam a guy, and they're like, what are you doing? And then after that, I was fine. But their coach was like, dude, I'm not going to have any players after this. Like, I can't do this anymore.
They're up 4-0 with the bases loaded. Oh, that's so funny. You're up 4-0 with the bases.
High schoolers. They take a bus to college field. Like, this is in the fall. Like, they're not in season, and they come to Jacksonville, Florida, where 2 guys are throwing 90 miles an hour and just hit their first 8 guys.
Oh my God. I played in a tournament. It was like a McDonald's invitational tournament in whatever, somewhere.
I'm just imagining you playing in the McDonald's basketball All-American game.
Yeah, I was like 3rd place in the dunk contest, and then I threw the ball at LeBron's head. It was like I had just learned to throw a curveball, and when I first started throwing a curveball, I think like most people, when they first learned, I was throwing this big loopy sidearm curveball, right? And I never threw like super hard anyway, and I'm in this tournament, and it was actually the first time I had ever had a home run hit off of me, and it might have been this batter. He might have actually thought I was like going after him. It was the first home run I remember being hit like over the fence. There were like some, 3 error, the guy scores on a hit, but like no actual over a fence home run.
Sure.
And I throw a curveball at this guy in his next at bat, and it's like, slow, and it comes out of my hand bad. I hang it so bad that it hits him like in the back, and I don't even think about it. And I like turn around, I'm pissed at myself, and this guy starts charging the mound. And my coach at the time, Mr. Cooper, rest in peace, Mr. Cooper. He's the man. He was this like 5'8" power lifter, black dude. His dad was a drill sergeant, and he like took all of the drill sergeant personality. He was the hardest class I ever took, like that. But I lost 6 pounds of water weight the first day of middle school tryouts. Like he pushed us hard, right? He's a hard ass, but he and I got along pretty well. Anyways, I didn't realize this guy was charging the mound. He was like walking out with the bat, and Mr. Cooper met him midway between, and he was like, this was like a big dude coming at me. And I'll never forget, like, first off, obviously, if I'm going to hit you, I'm hitting you with a fucking fastball, you idiot. Like, I'm not putting a curveball in your back. Also, we're like losing this game. I'm not putting you on base on purpose. What, are you stupid?
I always thought it was hilarious when guys would get hit with off speed and then start chirping at the pitcher. I'm like, baseball, like Division I player. I'm like, you know that you're just trying to start shit with the guy for no reason. Like, that's the only thing you're doing. You just want to get in a fight.
The guy in college,
there's a few where like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying the guy that gets hit by a curveball and assumes it's on purpose is also the same guy that like has a bad experience at a restaurant and assumes they're conspiring against him in particular. You know what I mean?
They knew I was coming.
Yeah.
I remember in college we faced it was a conference rival or whatever you call them in college, I guess, but they weren't very good, and there was this one dude who would always like almost Juan Soto step towards the pitcher if he took a pitch or whatever. Not quite with the same intensity as that, but I just remember he took everything as if it was like a slight on him. So I remember he got a base hit and then like looked at our dugout as he was running to first, and we were like, it's like 7-1 right now. Like, what are you doing? And I just remember like a couple of dudes on our team, there's always guys who want to fight. Like, they're just the ringers who are like, I'll fucking fight any of these guys. And I just remember being like, if you guys get in a fight, I'm staying in the dugout. Like, I'm not getting suspended for this. Like, you guys, there's not even a real reason for me to back you guys up. And then we never got in a fight, but
I know
I always said I was just going to dugout.
when I hit Tyler Sloss, when I threw at Tyler Slauson, the aforementioned, please find him, Tyler Slauson. Please, my dear friend Tyler. Ty, I call him. He I thought about it after, because like I didn't throw at him the next pitch. I like gave up. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I hate this. I don't like the way this feels. Like, this is bad. I don't want to put him on base, and I don't want to hurt a person. Like, and also it's a guy that I don't have a personal beef with. Like, I had teammates that didn't like him. I can't remember the reason, but it genuinely could have been something as crazy as like he was dating one of their girlfriends or their ex-girlfriends or something like that. Like, it was nothing. There was nothing that I cared about. It affected me zero, and I was like trying to be a good teammate. And baseball, like especially at that age when you're like a stupid teenager, like you think these guys are going to be your brothers for life. And there are guys, by the way, that like I'll see once every 5 years, and it's like back to it's like no time has passed since I've seen them.
Yeah.
But also, like, these aren't my brothers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk to most of these guys anymore. You call me with a flat tire, I'm going to give you the number to AAA. Like so it's not exactly the same as it was back then. But yeah, I just remember being like, what if this dude and his teammates come out and fight us? Like, I don't want to fight over whatever you guys are mad about at this guy. You know what I mean?
Also, there's also some teams where I remember, because we had guys who would want to fight and would get into a fight if they needed to or if they didn't need to. But I remember I would know some of the guys on other teams or colleges, like either guys that I played in high school with or junior college, and they moved up to Division I, and we would face them. And I just remember like getting into I don't think we were going to fight. I don't think it was that close, but it started getting heated between the dugouts. And I knew a couple of the guys on that team, and I was like, I would not fight those guys if I were you. Those guys are insane. Like, those guys will go to prison. Like, these guys are psychos. Like, I would not fight them. But it's just like not knowing anyone on the other team. Also, it's like you think you could go into it because you're like a college athlete or something, and then you're like, oh, they are too, and they could probably beat me up in front of a stadium full of people, and I don't need that in my life, so I always avoided it. But this is back to the Arozarena thing. Did anybody throw at anybody after that? Did the Rangers try to retaliate?
I don't think so. That's a good question. I actually am not certain. I was not watching the game live. I saw it the next day, and I was like, "This is fucking amazing!" Like I was, I was enchanted by it. I hope that it brings. By the way, I hope it brings some momentum. I've heard a bunch of rumors, and it's not. I mean, I think like Ryan Divish. It's not like I have some inside source. He said on a podcast that Arozarena is like not happy to be in Seattle, and I hope that like this kind of thing and the fans kind of rallying around him, because he's from he's from Cuba, which is very close to Florida, but I don't think he's exactly wintering in Cuba, but he's his family all lives in Tampa, and so I think he wants to be closer to his family, and he really like put down roots in Tampa, and so I think he is like sad to be out of Tampa, and I hope that the fans can like energize him to want to stay, because I've like really enjoyed him, and I think his time in Seattle has been good but underappreciated. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone threw at him after that. I was not, like I said, I was not watching the game, unfortunately. I have Reece, I have two children.
Feel like and look at us right now doing a mid-afternoon podcast.
I know.
How are those kids doing, man?
Who knows?
I feel like Randy is also, whenever some reporter says something like that, or I see it on Twitter, it always got to take it with a grain of salt, because I'm sure he's like fine being in Seattle. You're on a team with playoff aspirations. You could get some momentum. Obviously, the crowds, it's up and down in Seattle, where it's kind of fair weather sometimes. Obviously, if they start kind of falling behind, but I think it's probably just a big move. You're going coast to coast and leaving your family there. I'm sure they're with him in Seattle as well, but
no, they're not. That's the problem. They're not
like
because
they're
Reece,
not?
that's the thing. You're like a fucking 21-year-old kid at heart. Thanks. He's got kids that are in school. It is a pain in the ass to get kids into school. I've done it recently. It is so difficult. There's so much paperwork and shit you have to do, and then to do it, and it's like he doesn't know for sure that he's going to be. There's like rumors that the Mariners are going to trade him because he's going to make too much money, which is like, by the way, not that much money. And his problem is it's not like he's a free agent after this year. He's arbitration eligible for the next 2 years, so he has zero control over his own fate. So I understand like that.
Well, here's what he should do. He should quit baseball and he should get a job in Tampa. That's my advice. Then
I bet Reece knows someone with a tire shop or a fucking boat. He could like a boat salesman. He could do a Spanish language like hablamos
He'll be fine, dude. He'll love it out there.
Boat sales. Yeah, that's good. I think that's a good idea.
Yoenis Cespedes has a farm out, and he has a ranch out in Fort Pierce, Florida. That's not too far, so he can go hook up with him and just enjoy the retired life.
What is Yoenis Cespedes had like a crazy injury on a horse, right?
I think so, and it was where I went to college my freshman year, Fort Pierce, Florida.
Wow, he might be the guy that I think turned America. Like he was so fun that turned America towards enjoying like the Latin influence on the game, like the big celebrations, and because I think there was a lot of grumpy white guys before Yoenis. And by the way, I'm sure there are grumpy white guys.
I haven't still encountered
anyone. Yeah, they're still hanging around. I mean the group of people who are tweeting about the Mariners are not necessarily the most representative group of baseball fans. I'm sure there are people out there who hate who hate Randy Arozarena and who hated Yoenis Cespedes. But I do feel like Cespedes was one of the first guys that was because even like Robinson Cano was great for years, but he was like a little more stoic than some of the guys that we've grown to love. Randy Arozarena is the first guy I remember with the Mariners that
Cano played with a different kind of swag though, where it was like it wasn't that over the top swag, but it was this like nonchalant, like he would make plays like throw sidearm under all these crazy things with such ease. He would make it look like where people were, especially at my level where it was, when I was younger, where guys would try to emulate that, and then guys like white coaches or older white dudes who were classically baseball trained or whatever were like, no, that's a bad influence. You can't. He can do that, but even he shouldn't do that. And you're like, let him. He's a major league all-star. What are you talking about? But it's a different kind of flair to it, the Latin flair.
Yeah, I do think Cano was like Griffey-esque in that way. I might have told this story on the podcast we did before. Almost certainly I did, but it's one of the few stories I have about this. So I was like, I would say I never had real athletic gifts, but I was like hand-eye coordinated very early, and I was pretty early able to make like field a ground ball with one hand, catch a fly ball with one hand, no problem. I didn't have to do these like kind of fundamental things, and be like reasonably successful compared to my peers at that time. And I played on a baseball team where a guy, he had a thing called the tool, and if you didn't field with two hands, you replaced your glove with the tool, and the tool was
it the flat thing?
Ping pong paddle, handle cut off. There's a strap to strap it to your hand, and that's what you feel. That was your glove for that practice. And then I got I didn't realize how like insulting it actually was at the time, because we didn't like in fifth grade. This is like in fifth grade, by the way. This is not like I'm like 16 years old and a coach. I've like had it good for too long. This is pretty young. And we had shirts at the end of the year that had our nicknames on them, and mine was the Tool, which, like, in retrospect, you put the Tool on a fifth grader's shirt. It's like
that's insane. Pretty
funny. Okay, I want to do two things. I want to play the home run game with you. Do you know about our home run game? Have I ever told you about it?
I do not. What is it?
Okay, so it's basically I'm going to give you a couple of players to guess their career home run totals, and you're going to guess them, and there's no prize. It's just simply it's just fun. It's just a fun little trivia game, Reece. So first off, can you tell me, I can't remember who your childhood favorite baseball team was.
I mean, I liked the Red Sox when I was a kid because they were the first team that I saw play when I was like 5 or 6, and they were playing against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And that was when they were really, really bad, really bad. So I was like, I guess I'm a Red Sox fan. I didn't know anything about it, so sure. I'd say probably until high school. Through high school, I was a Red Sox fan, and then I just liked watching baseball, so I kind of just fell off of like the wagon there.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick Red Sox players from what I assume is maybe the early stages of your. But the other thing I want to talk about, because there's a lot of worry about in among like I would call myself someone who's like analytics minded when it comes to baseball, and there's a bunch of worry about Edgar Martinez coming in and trying to make everyone like swing for RBIs as though that's a thing. Did you at any point in your career had like, because you're relatively young, right? You're like 28 or something like that. 29. Did you catch any of yes. Did you catch any of the like kinetic training, like the driveline stuff, or any of the like
that was right
spin rates?
That was right when we kind of knew about it, but we didn't have the tech to like. Well, driveline was like a program, so I knew people that did it, and then I just got it from them. But it wasn't really for I never really did it. And then the spin rate, all the like TrackMan stuff, I never really got to use. I've used it out at the driveline facility when I went with a friend just to like fuck around with it. He was training for something in the off season, but I never had it when I was like at my peak. I'm sure it would have helped, but it wasn't like as readily available at that time.
All right, then because my thing is like I don't want, and I don't know what your feelings are on analytics and all that stuff. Obviously, that information isn't necessarily on its own bad to have, but I do think like I don't want Edgar Martinez even thinking about like reaching a specific exit velocity. I just want him getting these guys hitting the ball hard and for line drives. Like I don't think it needs to be this like for the hitting, like the hitting coach specifically doesn't need to be a guy who's like a technician who's making little tweaks to like get this guy a swing that he can repeat over and over again that doesn't expose him at different parts of the strike zone and hits line drives everywhere. Like that's what we're trying to do.
Is this a concern of yours, or have you heard that he's doing this? I feel like Edgar's probably a pretty solid hitting coach. Like what?
No, he specifically said he's not worried about exit velocity and all that, and that he's worried about he likes batting average RBIs and so people in the analytics community they cringe and bristle at the term RBIs, at the idea of RBIs being.
They're always
skill, right?
They're going to have something to say about everything, but it's like, I will take anything better than what the Mariners have been doing. So I'm going to just sit back and,
there's no doubt that what they're doing isn't working. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah. I'm saying I don't even care if the guy cares about RBIs, because ultimately, like, just all Edgar wants, first off, Edgar as a hitter, incredibly intelligent hitter, walked a bunch and hit for a bunch of power. So like, what are we doing? Like, this dude's going to try to teach these guys to be very good hitters. He's not gonna get them. He's not gonna suddenly turn these guys into Ichiro for no reason. You know what I mean? Okay.
They all come back. They're Japanese.
Every one of them is Japanese. Randy Arozarena. The celebrations have changed, but still very, very demonstrative.
He bows.
he bows, but it's 4 seconds long. Okay. Before we become the xenophobic baseball podcast, one of many xenophobic baseball podcasts, let's move on to the home run game. So the way that I would say like a classic process that we've come up with is to try to determine what this guy's 162 game average is, how many years he played, and then maybe a rough estimate. We don't need to. You're not being graded on this. Wait, are you going to tell me this?
Are you telling me this? Are you telling me all their stats and stuff, and I have to guess the player, or are you?
No. I'm going to tell you a guy, and you're going to guess his career home runs, and you can give the background of what you're thinking. Like I said, a common thing that my co-host Alex and I think about is the amount of time the guy played, what his 162 game average is, how much he was injured throughout his career, and how much like at the beginning of the end of his career were the numbers diminished because of playing time. So, first guy, cool. Red Sox legend, Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar. Okay. Big 1-5. Okay. What should I guess first? Just home runs?
That's all you're guessing is home runs. You can walk through the process if you'd like to. You could just guess right off the dome if you'd like to. It's interesting to hear the thought process sometimes.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through it slowly here. I'm gonna guess that he played 12 years in the big leagues.
Okay. This isn't like you're not getting graded on each one. No, you just have to keep walking through the process and guess the number.
Okay.
You're in the range. I'm not giving you everything, Reece. I should have just sent you a version of this before.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I don't know what okay. He wasn't like how many teams did he play for? 3? I know he played for the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, Orioles maybe at the end of his career, like way at the end. Or maybe at the I don't know, but I know he played for a couple did he play for anybody else? He was not like a prolific home run hitter, I feel like. Like, I don't want to say he hit 200 home runs. So I'm not going to say that he hit 200 home runs because I feel like I would have known that milestone. I'm going to blind guess and say 158.
That's pretty good.
Not really a blind guess, but
I think your instinct is pretty good. Like, I think your instincts were pretty good. He's not a super prolific home run hitter. Your history is pretty correct. 12 seasons exactly. He
12 years. Let's go.
12 years exactly. He starts his career with the Florida Marlins, playing 2 games, 3 plate appearances in 1998 at age 26. He was one of these guys, these like kind of quad A players that came up later than a top prospect would, later than a guy who was gonna challenge. He never made an all-star game, but like a guy who was kind of gonna be in the discussion as one of these underrated hitters. Plays for Florida until 2002. Comes to Boston as a 31-year-old in 2003, a year before they obviously go on to beat the Yankees in 4 straight games in the ALCS and then win the World Series for the first time in, was it 86 years or something like that?
86 years.
And then he goes to Baltimore and ends his career in Toronto. You said 158 home runs. He had 170 home runs. All right.
Oh shit! All right, that's
pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. That would be a very good score if you were. We keep like a running tally, but that would be a very good score if you were.
I'm actually more impressed that I nailed the 12 years. I
especially like one of them was a super abbreviated year, just like 2 games, 3 plate appearances. But you knew, I could tell.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts as a year though. So I guess I don't know. Whatever, I'll take it.
on his baseball reference page, it said 12 years. All right, next player,
right.
A guy who you maybe don't associate immediately. I think that there was a point in his career that you probably wouldn't have associated him immediately with the Red Sox, but I think the modern baseball fan probably does. Mike Lowell.
Mike Lowell, yeah. He, I definitely associate him but it's that in the Marlins, obviously.
Yeah.
Mike Lowell, he was what I just will say this: when he hit a home run, he was one of my favorites to watch hit home runs. There's something about the way that he swung a baseball bat that I was like, this is so smooth. Like, it's just okay. All right, let's see. What did he play? Third base? Was he third baseman?
He was a third baseman.
Okay, I don't have any idea of how long he played. I'm gonna say like 14 years. I don't have too much info on him off the top of my head, so I'm gonna say 264 home runs.
So this isn't
I don't know if that's gonna be even remotely close.
It's not going to feel as good as the Kevin Millar one, but I do think it's somewhat. Lowell, okay. I think, is the higher the number gets, the harder it is to be dead on. So Mike Lowell plays 13 seasons. I think you said 14. 4 All-Star games. 2 years he gets MVP votes. 5th, including 5th in the 2007 voting. Silver Slugger in 2003 with the Marlins. I think won a World Series with both teams.
Oh yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, he wins in 2000. Yeah, that's right. 2007 with the Red Sox and 2003 with the Marlins. And a guy who, by the way, is like one of the most like sneaky. He looks like a boring white dad and you're like, oh, he's Puerto Rican.
The goatee and everything. Yeah,
and it's also he's Mike Lowell. He's not Mike Lolita. He's Mike Lowell, and also
I think the name definitely throws it off.
Yeah, and grew up in like went to high school in Coral Gables, Florida, which is who knows how far away from where you grew up. It could be the exact town, could be 300 miles away. We don't know. This is not a geography podcast, but was born in Puerto Rico. Okay, yeah, he played at he actually got drafted by and debuted for the Yankees in the 20th round, which is pretty late for a guy that actually made it to the big leagues. And he hit 223 home runs, so not too bad.
Okay. Not great. All right.
You're more in the range
as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you're in the range of like kind of the average mistakes or the average misses that we have. And I have one more guy that we might have done him on the podcast before, but obviously not with you. A Red Sox legend. Probably not Coco Crisp is a great player, not the guy. A guy that's got ties to the Mariners, a guy whose existence and success hurt Mariners fans for decades, who was part of the Heathcliff Slocum trade. If you're familiar with that trade, it's probably didn't. I don't know if the haunting of the Heathcliff Slocum trade made it to Florida, if it's like one of these iconically bad trades in other places. I have found that I'm surprised how many people Ken Griffey Jr. was their favorite baseball player growing up that did not grow up in Seattle. So it's possible that you know about this because of that, but maybe not. He plays catcher for the Red Sox. Jason Varitek.
Ooh, Jason Varitek, 33, the captain. Okay. I feel like I gotta get this one better than the last one here.
So, by the way, I'll tell you a little more about that trade real quick. Heathcliff Slocum is a reliever for the Red Sox. Mid-range reliever, not great. I think he was a closer at the time, but like a middle-of-the-road closer. Gets traded for Jason Varitek and Derek Lowe. Just one of the iconically bad Seattle Mariners trades.
I do know that trade. It's actually funny because I know that trade because of Derek Lowe, not Varitek, for some reason. I don't know why that's what stands out, but
two guys who were like on the verge of being Hall of Famers, basically.
Yeah, very, very good players. Did Varitek? He only played for the Red Sox, right? I don't think he played.
That is correct. I'll give you that hint.
That doesn't really help me with the home runs. I'm just trying to piece it together in my head. I'm trying to I try to go through someone's career usually and then try to figure out when they were. He was also not a prolific home run hitter, but also fun fact about Jason Varitek, one of I don't know how many players now, but Little League World Series, College World Series, and Major League World Series.
Oh damn!
Has all three of them, or at least played in all three of them, and then. Maybe won all three of them. I don't know.
That's interesting.
How long did he play? 13 years, maybe 12 years. He's a coach now, right? He's a coach for the Red Sox, I think. Not the head coach, obviously, but I feel like he's a. Yeah, I think he's.
I'm glad you called him the head coach and not me because we call it a manager in baseball. Reece, come on now.
Oh, sorry, I don't play baseball anymore.
I got a brief bit of Jason Varitek, born in Rochester, Michigan. There's a lot of Rochesters around. I think it's Rochester, Michigan. And Derek Lowe, born in Dearborn, Michigan. That's surprising.
It's really cool, man.
Thank you for appreciating it.
All right. I'm just going to pretend in my head that he was consistently hitting in between 10 and 20 home runs a year, maybe. So maybe 15 a year. I want to say one. I'm just going to say 180, 183.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you Jason Varitek played 15 seasons, technically. All with the Red Sox. He does come up for one plate appearance. What does technically mean? Because he comes up for one plate appearance in 1997. One game, one plate appearance. His baseball, but he did get a base hit. He did hit a single.
He went 1 for 1. Nice.
He went 1 for 1. Batted 1,000 that year and didn't win the batting title. 162 game average is 20 home runs, but obviously the catchers do not play 162 games. He was a guy that played a lot of games from 2002 to 2005. He played at least 130 games every year and did that like a couple other times in his career. That's a lot of games for a catcher, and even back then, that's a lot of games for a catcher. You said 183 home runs. Jason Varitek also, by the way, 1 Silver Slugger, 3-time MVP vote receiver, but never even inside the top 20. But 3-time All-Star. I would say borderline. Certainly not a Hall of Famer, but he's on the border of he's almost like on the border of the borderline of being a Hall of Famer. And I think that's right.
The Hall of Very Good.
The Hall of Very Good used to be a podcast that I think is the most brilliant name, or a website and a podcast. I think it's the most brilliant name for something ever. What a great group of guys to interview. The guys that were just like really good, probably actually accessible to a guy like you who has a podcast that he can't get guests for. But you said 183 home runs. Jason Varitek, 193 home runs. A pretty goddamn good performance from Reece Green. Pretty damn good, Reece Green. Tell people, I'm going to end this podcast. Tell people where you're doing stand-up coming up.
When is this? Is it? Oh, it's live right now. Okay.
It's literally live. When is this coming out? An hour ago is the answer.
Yeah. Well, I was like, if it's going out, I mean, I could tell you off air, but I'm not allowed to announce something yet. So,
okay.
I'm going to be featuring at the Hereafter in Seattle, Washington this weekend. I will be at Don't Tell Comedy on Saturday. I don't know where it is yet, so if you want to go get tickets, but it's in Seattle. And then next week. Also, tomorrow in Issaquah, I'm doing some show. So if you live out there, come to Vino Bella Wines.
Yeah, been there many times.
Yeah, so I'm doing that one. Been there before. It was fun last time, so come on out. Next week, I'm at Club Comedy and Tacoma Comedy Club featuring for James Camacho. And then you can find my Instagram, reece.green, and whatever else I'm missing is on there probably. So.
All right, I want you to hang out because I got some questions for you. First off, Reece Green, tell Don't Tell that I want to do Don't Tell. These folks, I swear to God, are never going to book me. Also, I'm opening
there's a bunch of bookers now, so.
Oh, great. That's even better. There's more people to not book me.
It's like
I'm hosting for Giannis Pappas at Tacoma Comedy Club all weekend. Next weekend, by the way, the whole Tacoma Comedy Club voice competition, I'm hosting those, and I'm going to be bombing new material every week. I'll also be doing good material, but bombing new material every week. I don't want to make the contestants feel bad about their bombs, so I'm going to bomb right along with them. And then next weekend, I'm headlining, not this upcoming weekend, the weekend after. I'm headlining Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton, Wisconsin, and then opening for Chris Frangiola the next 2 nights. And then, check thecasey.mcclain.com, Casey McClain Comedy. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We love you. Reece doesn't, but I do, I promise. All right, bye, everybody. And Reece, stay on.
Bye, everyone.